everybody, this is Jeannie and this is my very first YouTube video. So we're gonna have some fun. Nothing's perfect, this video is not gonna be perfect, and that is okay. So I came up with this idea. I wanted to create a tumbler that looked like a glitter jar, and this is what I came up with. So I happen to use Glitter Chimp glitter because it's awesome glitter. It's beautiful. You can use any glitter you want to, but I just happen to have this and it's pretty. So this is Savage and I just did this one. So since this one is done, I'm gonna create one with the newer color called Man of War. So we're gonna get started on that. I'm so excited to show you guys this. Please like and subscribe to my channel because I love thinking outside the box and I have some really good ideas coming up and I don't want you to miss them. So let's get to this. So grab your favorite color of glitter and let's make a tumbler to look just like it. This is what I had on hand. I just got this color, so that's what I'm gonna use. So I'm just gonna start with some supplies here. I'm just starting with a 20-ounce skinny pre-sanded tumbler. I get mine from Makerflow. I've already got the arm attached to it, so it's ready for the spinner. Next, you may want to use a measuring tape. I happen to not use it on this project, but some of you may want to pre-measure. We use a ruler, a pen, some scissors, and some tacky spray. So let's get started. The next thing we want to use is a piece of foam. This was 99 cents at Michael's. They come in all different colors, but I just happened to grab a piece of white. And that's all we need to get this started. So we're going to use this jar as an example of how we're going to make the shape of the glitter jar. So see these pop outs on the jar plus the lid. And then you have the indented area right in the center. So we're going to recreate those three areas with the foam. Next, I'm going to cut out 3 1-inch pieces of foam with my ruler. The rulers are 1 inch wide, so it makes it easy to put that down and trace your strips out. So you'll need 3 of those. Next, we're going to take our tacky spray and we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to spray the foam, and I like to start at the bottom of the cup. This is where some of you may want to measure and pre-cut your foam. I didn't do that. I'm placing the foam about an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch away from the bottom because we want some room for the epoxy to settle in and seal the cup really well. So I just kind of fitted the piece of foam around my cup, trimming it as I went a little bit at a time until it fit really well. So once you get it cut, go ahead and spray the tacky spray on there. It doesn't take a lot and it actually dries pretty fast. Anything it gets on will be sticky, by the way. So I just started at the bottom, placed it about 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, or 1/4 inch up from the bottom. Next, we're going to do the very top piece so that it will be your guide for the one right below it. So I've already used tacky spray. I did not cut to fit. It might be easier to do it that way. If you find a better way to do this, then go right ahead and do that. I just got it stuck on there and then cut it once it was on. Just kind of eyeballed it a little bit. And then if you notice, I didn't take it all the way to the top of the tumbler, same as with the bottom, because you want to give the epoxy some place to go in order to seal this foam piece in. And if you leave about 1/8 inch, that'll give it a good enough space for that epoxy to settle. And I actually epoxy it a little bit more in that the top and the bottom areas for that reason, so it gives it a good seal. So just push your ends together, making sure that is stuck on. Doesn't take too long, but you can see that gap there that I kept so that the epoxy can rest in there and really seal the cup really well. Same with the bottom. Just kind of go around and make sure it's all stuck really good. And then we're going to move on to the piece of foam that goes right below that. And these are all the same size, easy peasy. So we're just going to wrap it around. And on this one, I like to leave also a little bit of a gap, you'll see, between these two pieces, because the top one is going to be the black lid, and the one below that is going to be the hump sticking out of the bottle that you see on those shaped bottles. So I just kind of keep trimming this until I got it right. Pre-measuring might be a good idea, but I did not pre-measure, and that's okay. So I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch once I spray the tacky spray on here. And that will give me some definition in between the lid and where the jar starts. So we're going to go ahead and put this on. And here you'll see that 1/8 of an inch between the top piece and this next piece down. It really does give it a little bit of depth there for your lid. So again, we're just going to stick this one on here. It doesn't take long for this tacky spray to dry. And then we'll go to the next step. Just keep in mind, this is just the way I do this. There are so many people that are creative out there, and if you have a better way, by all means, go ahead and do it that way. I just kind of did this, figured this out as I went along. So far so good. So let's see what happens with this. It doesn't take the tacky spray too long to dry, so I might have waited a half hour, took a little break, and then got started spray painting. So once I got all 3 pieces on securely, I took it outside and spray painted the entire cup 2 times Rust-Oleum black. And now it's time to get this ready for epoxy. So I took some painter's tape and put it right on top of the top piece of foam. That's going to remain black, so we don't want any glitter to get on that. So we taped it up really good. It's ready to get on the spinner. So now it's spinning. I have my part A and B mixed together, and we're going to apply this directly over the foam and the cup. Again, we're going to use the Man of War glitter color to match that bottle. On goes the epoxy. So you'll notice that I'm putting quite a bit of epoxy on here. I like to use a little bit more with the chunky glitter. It's not super chunky, but it is chunky glitter. So I like my glitter to lay nice and flat, so I use a little more epoxy than I normally would. Also, you have the foam. So what I do on the foam is make sure you put a little bit more on the bottom. And then remember that 1/8 of an inch I left at the very bottom and the very top of the tumbler? I'm going to show you what I do to make sure that seals well. So on the bottom of that piece of foam, I'm pushing the epoxy up into it. So you'll have a little extra epoxy there to seal that foam really well. So just kind of push up into that foam. You want a little bit extra epoxy there. And then the same for the bottom. I went all the way around so that the epoxy on my glove was sort of filling that gap in a little bit. This will give it a nice seal. I also did the same for the very top of the tumbler, of the black area, and then the very top of the tumbler once we get to that part. I will show you that also. So it's time for glitter. This is the fun part. Let's do this. This looks so amazing on the black paint. So you're just going to glitter right over everything. And I just usually dump my glitter on. Let it get coated on there really good. It's starting to look like a glitter jar. So that you could do this with any color you like. I like the color shift glitters myself. Just go right over top of that foam there, all the way up to the tape. Such a pretty color. Make sure to get that on the bottom in that little gap that we left at the bottom as well. It's starting to look like a jar of glitter. And then I usually like to tap the little areas that are sticking up. At this point, your glitter's covering most of your epoxy, so it's okay to tap those down. If you see big pieces, it saves time later. So once that first layer of epoxy has fully dried, I took off the painter's tape off of the top layer of the black foam, which is the top of our glitter jar. Peel all that away, and then we will be ready for the next coat of epoxy. I also like to use the chunky glitter on these because the foam is, you know, foam, so actually the chunkier glitter kind of helps stabilize that, and with the epoxy and everything, it makes it just that much stronger. So that's why I like to use the chunkier glitter. Next, I went ahead and put a good layer of epoxy over the entire tumbler. Next, we're going to remove the actual label from the glitter jar. So the newer jars are a little bit easier because they are just easier to peel off, but just do it as good as you can. I usually can never peel off one completely, but if there's a better way to do this, I would love to know about it, but just ever so carefully peel that right off your jar. Then I take some transfer paper, take it off, and use the bottom, the shiny part, and put your label right onto that paper. So later it's easier to take it back off and put it back on your jar. So we're going to flatten that down really, really well. Of course, this is not the right size you need for your tumbler. So what I did was you can print it on printable vinyl, so it goes on like a sticker onto your tumbler. So what I did was flatten it out really good, and then I scanned it into my computer and resized them to fit 4.5 inches by 2.5 inches tall. And that's a really good size for the 20-ounce tumbler. There are many ways this can be done, but that's just how I did it. And then I stuck it onto the transfer paper so that it was easy to get off and put it back on my jar. So there it goes back on there. Just like that. My epoxy is completely cured, so now I'm going to put my printable vinyl label onto the glitter tumbler, and then we will add our final coat of epoxy. So final coat of epoxy goes on. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. There are so many beautiful glitters out there and different brands, so if you have a favorite glitter color you like, I hope you guys have fun making a glitter tumbler. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial.